When a wild animal gets trapped, its body does something specific. Cortisol floods the bloodstream. Heart rate doubles, then doubles again. Every muscle locks. The animal stops reacting to anything around it and collapses into a single directive: survive this. It burns through every reserve it has running that one program. And then a human arrives. To the trapped animal, that's not a rescuer. That's a predator showing up at the worst possible moment. The thrashing gets worse the closer the human gets, because in every piece of inherited knowledge that animal carries, proximity after helplessness means one thing. The research backs this up. Animals in traps show higher cortisol levels than animals injured by gunshot. Being unable to run from a human is physiologically the worst situation a wild animal can be in. This is what makes the thing that actually happens in these rescues so hard to explain. In December 2005, a humpback whale was found tangled in rope lines 18 miles off San Francisco. 12 crab traps, 90 pounds each, hung off her body and pulled her downward. She had been fighting to keep her blowhole above the surface for hours. A rescue team sent 4 divers into the water with curved knives. She stopped moving the moment they entered the water. For over an hour, she held position at the surface while the divers worked around her. At several points, she repositioned herself, rotating, extending a fin, adjusting her angle in ways that gave them better access to the lines they were cutting. A 50-foot, 50-ton animal that could have killed any of them with a single movement chose, repeatedly, to make their job easier. The working explanation among researchers is this: a predator closes in fast, direct, aggressive. A human trying to help moves slowly, touches the rope instead of the animal, matches nothing in the inherited threat catalog. The alarm system searches for a recognizable danger pattern and finds nothing. With no pattern to lock onto, the crisis response stalls. The animal waits. That explains the stillness. It doesn't explain what happened when the last rope was cut. She didn't leave. She swam in wide circles around the divers. Then she approached each one individually, not the group, each person, and nudged them gently before moving to the next. James Mosquito, one of the divers, described it afterward. He said it felt deliberate, like she was making sure each person in the water knew something. Then she was gone. A stalled alarm system doesn't produce that. An animal waiting for its threat pattern to resolve doesn't seek out each individual who helped it and make specific contact before leaving. That behavior requires something beyond the absence of fear. Here's what makes the question harder. That behavior, the circling, the individual contact, the staying when nothing is forcing you to stay, isn't unique to animals with large, complex brains. It shows up in animals with far simpler ones. Juvenile elephants pulled from mud pits in Kenya have been documented making deliberate trunk contact with the people who freed them before walking away. An elephant's trunk contains 40,000 individual muscles. The nerve density is comparable to human fingertips. When an elephant extends its trunk to touch something slowly and deliberately, it is the most precise sensory examination that animal is capable of. These elephants, free, safe, nothing stopping them from rejoining their herds, stayed long enough to examine the people who helped them, then walked away. The whale's behavior could be explained by cognitive complexity. The elephant's behavior deepens that explanation. But then there are the rats. In controlled studies, rats who received help escaping a trap from a specific other rat showed measurable preference for that individual afterward, returning to them, spending more time near them, distinguishing them from other rats who had been equally present but hadn't helped. The rat's brain encoded not just that something good happened, but who made it happen. Whatever is tracking the identity of a helper, whatever mechanism registers this specific individual removed the threat, it appears across animals with completely different levels of cognitive complexity. It isn't a feature of large or sophisticated brains. It's something older than that. What it actually is, and how it works at the level of biology, remains genuinely open. A wildlife rehabilitator who has spent decades working with injured animals described something that stays with the researchers who've heard it. She said the animals closest to dying when they arrived, the ones most critically, dangerously helpless, are almost always the ones who respond most strongly to her afterward. Not the ones she spent the most time with, the ones who were most afraid and then weren't. She said it seems like they remember the moment they stopped being afraid, and they remember exactly who was there. You already know what that feels like from the other side. There's someone in your life, maybe years ago, who showed up when you couldn't handle what was happening alone. You haven't forgotten them. Not their name, not the moment, not what it felt like when you stopped facing it by yourself. You remember who was there. The whale didn't understand crab traps. The elephant didn't understand mud rescue operations. The rat didn't understand experimental design. They understood who stayed. She went to each diver before she left, one by one, specifically. Whatever she was doing in those moments, she didn't do it to the ocean.